Hello and welcome back to the Ultra HD Gamer, and this is a Dell Inspiron 580 desktop system I got for 40 bucks from a site called LetGo. It was in a bundle with multiple other items such as a keyboard and a 1080p monitor and speakers and a printer. It originally had a Core i3 550, a first generation, I think Linfield or something. Dual core 4 thread with 4 megabytes of cache at 3.3 gigahertz. I upgraded it to a Core i5 750, I think. 4 cores at, I think 3.2 gigahertz, I don't remember. And it originally had Windows 7 Pro, but I put 10 on this system. And it has a SATA DVD burner right here that works. And it had 8 gigs of RAM, and that's one of the main reasons why I bought this system. Sorry, I don't have a tripod, so it's going to be kind of a shaky and crappy video. And it says it's a Dell Inspiron 560 and a real crowd pleaser, but it's in fact a 580. I'm going to go get a screwdriver to take apart this system. So this system did not come with a hard drive, and it only came with RAM and the motherboard and the CPU and the power supply. No graphics card, well, dedicated graphics card. It did have Intel HD graphics, which is never good for gaming. So I added an R7 250 1GB GDDR5 graphics card, as you see behind there. And it did come with a Wi-Fi card. Oh yeah, and there's no USB 3 ports because the system is pretty old. Although it does have HDMI and VGA and 4 USB ports on the back with 2 more in the front, probably gigabit LAN port and a an array of audio ports. So just taking out the screw from this. I also upgraded the power supply from a Hypro 300 watt power supply to a Dell 80 plus, I think it's an 80 plus, 460 watt power supply. And Dell power supplies are literal tanks. I took that out of a Dell XPS 8300. So the internals are nothing really special. As you can see, there's that Dell 460 watt power supply. I think it is. Yep. And I put an SSD in there, a 120 gig, in a very crappy way that no one should ever do. Actually, it's a smarter idea to put your SSD somewhere in there and not just do what I did. Although there's no hard drive caddy, so maybe I could have just done this and added a screw. Although I am too stingy for that for my own systems. Well, maybe I shouldn't. Anyhow, this is the graphics card, an R7 250, the CPU fan, and the motherboard, which is not really special. There are 4 SATA ports, probably SATA 3. Nope, there's a SATA. Yes, there is one SATA 3. There's a SATA 2, 3, and 4. If I'm correct. Not many expansion card slots, or not as many as older systems. Just a PCIe and a PCIe Mini, and just a regular PCI slot. I mean, this system is pretty bland, but what do you expect? So what's interesting about this system is the RAM. It has 8 gigs of RAM, and each one is a 2 gigabyte stick. It took me a bit of fiddling to get the machine to work with the RAM, but it did eventually. So one of them is a 1066 megahertz stick, and the others are 1333. So yeah, this is sorry about that. This is the different one. And I'm pretty sure the system originally came with 6 gigabytes of DDR3 memory, because this is all the same. This is a pack, and this one was probably an add-on. I'm going to have to test this system to see if I put it back correctly. But yeah, it has 4 channels, and it is on the LJ1156 socket because it has an i5 750. I mean, this system is decent, but one of the only cons is that I can't upgrade it to an i7 870. So that kind of holds me back. I would have loved to have 4 cores and 8 threads in this system, but you know, you can't always get what you want at a good price. And the system is relatively clean. And yeah, I'm going to test the system, like boot it up. Oh yeah, I'm going to try to put the system back together. And hopefully it doesn't have a beep code that says bad memory, because I originally thought these DIMMs were bad until well, one of them was, or at least I thought it was, until I tested it in another system, and I realized these DIMMs weren't bad. They were just, well, there was something in the memory slot or something, or the computer was just being picky, which is not great, but whatever. Oh yeah, this power supply does have 2 6-pin connectors, so I could in theory put a much nicer graphics card in, but you know what, I can't afford that. Well, I mean, for this system, because, you know, just not good enough for me to pay that much money or anything like that. This R7-250 was actually a really good deal. I paid $10 for this graphics card, and that's why I just couldn't resist buying it, because for $10, even though this card isn't a gaming card, it does have GDDR5 memory, and it also has DirectX 11 support, so it will run most games that I play, including World of Warships, since I'm pretty sure that only needs DirectX 10, maybe even 9, I'm not sure, because that game is over 10 years old now. Or, no, it's not over, but it's around 10 years old. So, I mean, this thing could run it at 1080p low to medium settings. If I get a hard drive, I might actually make a video on whether or not the system can game. I actually probably do have some 500 gigabyte drives laying around. I'm not going to do anything about that SSD because, I mean, whatever. It shouldn't be in there like that, but I'm not going to sell this system, and if I do, I'm going to fix it because it's not really that nice selling people computers that have problems. Let me just put this back in and screw the computer. Screw the computer screws, not screw the computer. That sounds kind of wrong. So I'm going to pause the video real quick and get it set up with my test monitor and keyboard and mouse. So I am back. Let's just get this little video camera to focus. Turning on my Dell machine. I also have a 1050p Dell monitor, that thing right there. It's a complete Dell setup. Just going into the BIOS to check out the specs. So it has an i5 750 at 2.67 gigahertz. I was wrong about it being 3.2 gigahertz. It has 1 megabyte of L2 cache and an 192 kilobytes or 8 megabytes of level 3 cache and 256 megs of L1 cache, not in order. And memory clocked at 1066 megahertz, and it is DDR3. It has an older BIOS configuration. Let's just boot up. I am using the Epic Dell keyboard and mouse. give me a second. I'm going to put the computer down because I do not want to give out my name or password. And boot up was incredibly quick. As you can see, the system is pretty snappy, and this monitor is a 1050p monitor, although I haven't installed drivers yet, so I am going to connect this to the internet. Just give me a second to fish out the Ethernet cable. So I'm just going to get all the drivers installed so that if I do want to make a video on this as a gaming machine, I can. So it has Windows 10 Pro on it because there's a Windows 7 Pro COA, and of course I'm going to use Windows 10 Pro. Why not? It's at 64-bit because 8 gigs of RAM. I mean, nothing too special about it. The funny thing is everything here I'm using is Dell in this setup, and, well, all of these things I've got second-hand. Actually, I wonder if I can overclock this